All right, we're on. We're gonna go back into it. Short introduction. Thank you guys for coming out this evening. I really appreciate you. We got Jelani on the check-in, brother Jelani. We got brother Sharif Anil Bey, Dr. Paul Dyer on. I'm gonna cut your mic right now, Jelani Bey. Excuse me, because in the background you have some background noise, and then when you talk, I just turn it right back on. So a quick introduction. We're gonna start off with Dr. Paul Dyer, and we'll start with there. We'll start with Dr. Paul Dyer.
So, real quick. Um, so, I just released my new book today. It just came out from the publisher. That is The Shadow Sins of the Black Warrior. I did 15 years in the military, special ops. I've been traveling as a Mason for 35 years. I have four PhDs. Neuroscience and physics is part of that. I love studying science. Been a martial artist for about 50 years now. And I just love studying human existence and human condition and human life form. And I'll leave it at that. But let's go.
All right, all right. Brother Jelani.
Islam to my Moors.
Islam.
I'm My name is Jelani Delisa Abdullah Kalfani Bey. I've been a Moorish scientist for 22 years. I've been a traveling man for 27 years. I've been a martial artist for 56 years. Um, love knowledge. Love to learn and constantly seek unity. Uh, that's about it in a short nutshell.
Okay, okay. And let's go with brother Sharif real quick.
Um, my name is Brother Sharif Anil Bey. I'm your brother. Member of the Moore Science Temple of America Incorporated under the leadership of Brother R. Jones Bey and his sister Brother A. Hopkins Bey. I serve as the National Press Secretary for the Moore Science Temple of America Incorporated under that leadership. Um, I'm a Grand Sheik of a local temple, Syracuse, New York. I'm a martial artist, lifelong martial artist since age 5. We also I just finished with a qigong class. We have we teach on ongoing medical qigong courses. So, and we do medical qigong treatments. As far as the Freemasonry, I was initiated, passed, and raised Scottish Rite back in '97. Yeah, Scottish Rite. And in 2001, became a member of the got healed over in Egyptian Rite of Memphis Mizraim. I am currently a member of the Areopagus of a particular jurisdiction of the Rite of Memphis Mizraim, and I hold a charter for Beit LMX Lodge.
I had no idea.
Oh, also,
Here you go.
Uncas Lodge 161, Oddfellows, International Order of Oddfellows.
All right, all right. Now, I didn't ask Jelani before we go back to you, brother Sharif. Do you have any particular books out right now that anyone can check out, or any achievements that you've just accomplished? I know we were on the phone and you was telling me something about something you created, your initiative and things like that. I don't know if you want to expound on that.
Well, yeah. I'm currently the past master of Japta's Mobile Lodge #1 and the founder of Japta's Mobile Lodge #1. Like I said, I've been a Mason for 27 years, and when I got into Moorish science in 2002, and I started hearing the things that Moors were saying about Freemasonry, and knowing different, being Scottish Rite and York Rite Mason. I couldn't really correct them because I couldn't really speak about the rituals and stuff. But what I did encounter was coming into more science. There's a lot of things in more science that I learned in Freemasonry. And then the comments that were being made that I couldn't comment on, a lot of them were out of ignorance and out of fairy tales and hearsay. So after so many years of hearing these things, both sides, black sovereign citizens from the Masons, and all kind of crazy rituals from the Moors, and that kind of thing there, and white establishment allegiance and all this garbage. I says, you know what? It's time for me to start to try to mesh the two together. So what we did was we founded a lodge that's all Moorish Americans, so that Moorish Americans can come into Freemasonry, learn what Freemasons know, and at the same time see the similarities of the jurisdiction they're already in. And then vice versa, as they come in, the Freemasons will learn more about nationality and birthright by just being exposed to the brothers, small talk, and their demonstration. So I'm the founder of that. I'm the founder of King Black Tiger Fist Style Kempo. I was awarded the Soki ship from the Black Dragon Soki Ship Council 2019. My Shidoshi is Ron Van Cleef, the Black Dragon. And so in that particular system, I'm a Gilshi Shihan 7th degree black belt. I also hold a 3rd level Black Sash in Pylon Kung Fu, 1st degree in Shaolin Su Kempo, 1st degree in Mushabaru Jiu Jitsu. And that's about it. National Grand Sheik for the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World, Free and Sundry Moorish Science Temple of America. I was ordained Grand Sheik Divine Minister in the Embryo Moorish Science Temple, May 26, 2006. That's about it. I'm not good on accolades and going down the line, but I've been around for a little while. Islam.
All right, Islam. Now, brother Sharif,
Yes.
let's go into your, Dr. Paul Dyer. You mentioned your books and stuff like that, right? You just
The reason why I mentioned the recent book is because when we talk about the shadow sins, the last book title is The Shadow Sins of a Black Warrior. It goes right into where we talk about what Masonry is all about. We carry a lot of knowledge and information wherever we go. It holds into which we call our knowledge nugget in our brains. And we carry that into battle. We carry that in the peaceful world. We carry that everywhere we go. The more knowledge you gain, the more peace you gain. But you can also, it's the more weapons you have. So the book is a non-fictional fictional. So there's history involved in it. So, we talk about masonry. Like I studied through the York I studied in York Masonry for many years because I worked in the Knights of Malta in the United Nations in the sovereignty of Malta, right? The Knights of Malta, and I worked for the UN, and so when people talk about masonry, is it just titles and things? No, these people around the world are still working as a unit that started back in, you know, 1633. You know, when the Byzantine Empire had 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 destroyed one of the libraries. You know what I mean? So we are not without information if you go seek it. And that's where the traveling comes in. When we talk about traveling, that means go seek your information, not just stand still. And you're right, Ron, when you said that some lodges, what that lodge wasn't for you. And Sharif said it. Not every lodge is going to teach you the information. That's why when you go out and travel and you go knock on different doors, Masonic doors, they're not going to be the same. And when you travel around the world, they're going to give you things you say, man, holy, like, where this is blowing my mind. Like the first time I was in Lebanon. Lebanon, most people don't know that's in Syria, right? We call it the Middle East. No, it's just the East. There are lodges in the East, people who have information that we seek out that carry the knowledge that's been passed down for centuries. So, what are you willing to seek? What are you willing to learn? And what vessel are you trying to carry it in?
Mm-hmm.
That's what being, I call myself a life learning martial artist, right? We do that because we're lifelong learners. A Masonic person is a lifelong learner. We are an open vessel. We will carry that information as long as we have breath within our lungs. And we will pass it on to those who we deem worthy.
Mm.
We just don't spout it out anywhere. So, if that makes sense, so that's why I write, I read, I do all these things. It's because I want to pass on my fruit of labor.
Got you. Got you. Now, the benefits of masonry. I want to go with Jelani Bey right now. Break down the benefits of masonry, how you see it, and then we'll go back to Dr. Paul Dyer. Dr. Paul Dyer last time was talking about the 3 knocks and the pituitary gland and everything like that. So I want to go into that as well after we build with Brother Jelani Bey real quick.
Okay, well, see, my experience with Freemasonry is a universal brotherhood.
Mhm.
In my travels, I've experienced some remarkable things, dealing with masonry, and not just within my jurisdiction or family of Masons, but on a universal level. With Freemasonry, with the proper knowledge and the way you carry yourself, you'll never meet a stranger. You never meet a helping. You never meet an unfriendly, unhelping hand. I've been in situations where I was in dire need, and because I knew what I knew, otherwise complete strangers came to my rescue.
Mm.
They were very cordial and were very brotherly. I was just recently at an IHOP, and I guess they must have saw the back of my the land transport, the automobile, and they just walked up to my table, gave me $20, and said, "Thank you, have a good day, brother." Getting known from a can of paint. I got lost in New Jersey. I seen a sister pumping gas. She had the light on the back. Couldn't talk to her, but I'm also a past patron, so she had the light on her license plate. I approached her, told her our situation. 10 minutes later, there's 15 dudes in the parking lot. Don't know him from Adam, passing out business cards and wanting telephone numbers. There's very few organizations that you can get that experience.
Mm.
So I think the most important benefit of Masonry is that universal brotherhood. Now you have some people who are disagreeable in the ranks, that carry petty squabbles from our elders of the past. We have that in more science too. But for the most part, that universal brotherly love, that's what I've experienced in Freemasonry. And that's what I think the benefits of it are. Yeah, seriously. Islam,
Okay.
I yield.
Islam. Okay. Before we go back to Dr. Paul Dyer, I want to talk to Sharif Fanil Bey about things that he's accomplished recently. and books that he has out?
I mean, I've got a number of books out. You can, I don't want to really go into all of that stuff. You can go to Amazon.com. Everything I have is there. You can type in the search bar books by Sharif Anayil Bey. You'll see them, right? Outside of the course, I mean, we're doing a number of things. I have I have two in a real Qigong. We have a Qigong series called Real Qigong that are instructionals that come there. They're 5-hour instructional intensives with supplemental PDFs, of course, and then ongoing consultation with me. And, we're teaching real Qigong and demystifying it at the same time, so to speak. Right now, we have 2 courses available. One is called Bioenergetic Anatomy, which is the one I highly suggest people start with. I've also done another one on the 6 Healing Sounds Qigong. We'll be having more coming out as well. As some of you know, I've done over a decade of research on alchemical history and tech. And it's rediscovery. I have to put that in air quotes. And it's rediscovery, via David Hudson in Arizona. And I've done a number of presentations on the famed Philosopher's Stone, or in other words, monoatomic gold. And as a result, we have a product, a real monoatomic gold product, real one. And so we make that available as well. That's it, bro. That's it.
All right. And where can they find the monoatomic gold?
Just contact me directly. Contact me on Instagram at Sharif Bey. Contact me on Facebook, Sharif Anayil Bey.
Okay.
And, Islam, brother Sharif.
Yes, sir. Islam, your brother.
Hey, man, Islam, Sifu. How you doing, brother? Forgive my ignorance, but what are the physical benefits of your product? Like, what are things that I could look forward to in using the product?
Oh, well, okay. Well, oh, wow. Well, to begin with, to answer the question, to answer that very short, pragmatically, I have to kind of speak to what it actually is. Okay. So monoatomic gold, and this actually gives me an opportunity to kind of correct some things, because there's a lot of people out there with Ormus products. They say Ormus, ORMUS or ORMES. Let's start with that. Ormus is not really a word. Ormus is an acronym.
Figured.
Orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements. That's what ORMS is. Okay. The term monoatomic refers to something that refers to orbitally rearranged electrons around the nucleus of an atom. So when I've heard some people in their products, I'm not trying to hate, but we want responsible information. I've heard people say, yeah, the gold is monoatomic size. No, that means they don't understand what monoatomic means. Mm-hmm. They're talking about a colloid, in other words, as in colloidal gold or colloidal silver, right? Monoatomic gold is pure gold, but it is no longer a metal. It is alchemically transformed. It is alchemy, people. It is transmutation of something. And what it is, it's the transmutation of metal gold into pure gold that's non-metal. And now I'll just say this really quick. In the process of transforming metal gold into monoatomic gold, there's a specific process that causes the nucleus of the gold atoms to rotate very fast. And as it does so, it elongates like a cat's iris. When this happens, the electrons form on both ends. It's called Dr. Dyer knows this, it's called a dumbbell atom. And then the nucleus flexes so that the electrons form what they call a Cooper pairing. When that happens, the metal to metal bonds between the atoms of the gold fall apart. That's why it's called monoatomic, because the electrons are all rotating the exact same direction. That's why. And when that happens, the metal to metal bonds fall apart. You have pure gold, but it is a powder, a white powder, or a pinkish powder, or a red powder. That's what it is.
Here's what's fascinating. So when we talk about Masonic stuff, we're actually talking about alchemy.
Yes, we are.
We're talking about
Yes, we are.
transformation. We're
Yes,
talking about matter. We're talking about protons. We're talking about neutrons. We're talking about electrons. We're talking about positive and negative. We're talking about transformation.
Right.
We all have been talking about the molecular structure of man. That's when we start to study how to transform man, we're actually talking about the molecular structure of man.
Right.
So that is also in the study of the order, right?
Yes, it is.
So if you don't understand what you're transforming, you stay what you call a raw material. You don't transform yourself into that higher positive change.
Mhm.
So the study, the engineering of alchemy, it's engineering. We're always looking for that spiritual horizon with the matter of man. I mean, everyone has seen the Leonardo da Vinci drawing, but that comes way before the teachings in Egyptian Hermetic sciences. You know, when we are talking about one of the oldest, so, so if we think about in 633 CE, when the people who were trying to conquer and do all this destruction, they were trying to destroy the libraries, right? One of the oldest libraries that we've known is Al Corwin. That's one of the oldest libraries. We know about the libraries that Alexander did in Alexandria. Why do you think they were trying to destroy these libraries? They were trying to destroy the transformation of man into the spiritual being, which is where the things in the teaching, there's always has been teaching that's been passed on down. We write it down, but it has always been passed on from from the word to the ear. Now, like we said, there's always going to be some people who are trying to manipulate and harm and deter and the evil factions of the world, but there is still the true word of out there, and it has to be protected because people are manipulative. So it, it it's there. It's there. It has always been there in the teachings. So when you're traveling, go travel.
I
Go
like that.
learn.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Jelani?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, dear brother Dyer, man, you went so deep. That's one of the shortcomings of modern day Freemasonry, especially among Asiatics. Unfortunately, in among the ranks, there's still so much superficiality. Where a lot of us just mimic words, and there's not really enough teachers to actually break down the operative side of Freemasonry, and get into the alchemic and metaphysical principles of the compass and the square, how that goes, how deep that goes, the bloodlines of the various personalities that we read about, in the various rituals, especially in the Memphis rite. They get into some very ancient teachings, but you have to have the proper instructions. And just like bro, you said earlier, the lodge you were in probably was a very a lodge that lacked in true Masonic knowledge, lacked the ability to make good men better, not just in your emotions, but in your knowledge. You're supposed to be elevated from the mundane to the metaphysical, to the alchemic, to the next world. You still got a lot of people who have so much dogma in them. When you talk like this, you talk in spookism. Islam, I yield. Let the other doctors get down.
All right. All right. So now, anyone have anything to say about that? Say behind that or to add on?
Yeah, real brief. Like, there was something I wanted to touch on, about, what I get out of, for instance, out of Freemasonry. My purpose for joining wasn't social or political. It was research. And again, you get out of Freemasonry what you put into it. That's just like with anything. What I came into it for was higher knowledge. And yeah, that's what I came in for, was for higher knowledge. I belonged before I became a Freemason. I had already been a part of other organizations that deal with what people would call higher knowledge. And so I was just a seeker of truth. That was it. I could say this: joining the Moorish Science Temple of America tied it all together for me. You know what I mean? It really did. It tied it all together and made it, including the work that I've done with the Rite of Memphis Mizraim. The Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated made it all really, truly workable for me. It really did. Um, what the doctor just said and Brother Jelani just said, in response to what I had mentioned about the monoatomic gold and the art of transmutation, yeah, we make, as Jelani just said, we make good men. The craft is to make good men better. Prophet Noble Drew Ali in More Science of America said, right, he needs strong men and women who think their condition can be better. If you think your condition can be better, and then and you want to embark on the journey east to do so, then you are engaging in the alchemical art of transmutation, at the very least on a moral and social level, right? And the whole art of transmutation we could see in Blue Lodge, right, as the comparison between the rough ashlar and the perfect ashlar. There you go.
Gotcha.
One of the things, when we talk about the seeking of the truth, because it's the same thing I got into, because I wanted to. I'm a seek of knowledge, and that's why I got into my sciences. And I got into my sciences is not because I was good at science. I actually got into sciences because I was not good at science. I got into math not because I was good at math. I got into math because I was not good at math. So I said to myself, if I'm not good at something, that means something can be hidden from me, and I wouldn't know what it was. I Something can be hidden in an equation, and I wouldn't know what it was. Something can be hidden in in science, and I wouldn't know what it was. So I start to study my sciences, and it became fun for me. So then, as I started to just be around people, even though I was in a lodge and it was nice brotherhood and it was nice doing all the little fun things, it was the reading and then traveling to other countries, because I was still in the military, and then I would go off on my own on my downtimes. Like when I was in Syria, I would go off into a building, into a mosque, and talk to people. I would go wherever I was in other Middle Eastern countries and go talk to people. If I was in Turkey, go talk to maybe one of the Gregorian monks and talk to them. But then when I was in, like, working with people from the UN and know that people that were there didn't wear the pins and the lights and stuff. It was the words they said gave the information of who they were. And then knowing the business that they were in, like the Science Application International, that's a Masonic order that most of those people are in. The leaders are all part of an order, and they do crazy things for things around the world. Look them up. The Science Application International Corporation. They do so many things that they have so many hands in on a scientific level that people don't even know who they are, but they're in everything, right? Just like the Knights of Malta, the sovereignty of Knights of Malta, they're in everything around the world. But people pay no mind to them because in the United States, here's the problem. There's very few people in the United States that travel outside the United States. They'll give an excuse like I'm not comfortable. They'll give an excuse I don't have the money. They'll give an excuse because of so many things. And the reason why I call an excuse because they'll go spend money on a Coach purse. They'll go spend money on a PlayStation game. They'll go spend money on $300 sneakers, but they won't go travel outside of the United States. That kind of disturbs me because you're not looking for information. You're looking to be stuck in your base metal state.
Nice. All right. Anyone want to add to that?
Well said.
Well said. Well
Yeah,
said.
yeah, well said. In the United States, you know, there's a conspiracy to stifle any type of really true knowledge. You know, that's their main goal, to keep us deaf, dumb, and blind. And I know when I served in the United States Navy, it wasn't until I got into the various sciences, more science and Masonic science, that I realized that people were communicating with me in ways that they, for some reason, thought I was able to handle, but it went right over my head. You know, right down into the various ways to identify a Moor. You know, I during my Navy days, I knew nothing about birthright and nationality, nor did I know anything about the Masonic order. You know, but you know, I'm what they call slew-footed. I'm duck-footed. So I remember standing in front of a Filipino guy, and he kept looking at my feet and doing something weird. You know, and he looked at his friend, and then looked at me again, and it did something weird. Well, this went right over my head. You know, that's because I had no knowledge of it. You know, you can't expound on anything if you can't recognize it. Like when you get a new car, you think you got the baddest thing going until you drive off the lot and you realize everybody else got it. That's the same thing with this science. There's a group of people that know, and you're not privy to those people unless you know or come into the knowledge or become aware of it. And that's one of the goals for the Masonic order, is to get you at a starting point, but it's up to you to continue to dig, 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 dig. I got into Masonic science because them cats over there with the black suit, they look like they knew something everybody else didn't. They moved different. And I found myself wanting to move like them, find out what they knew. Then when I got in, and then certain people would tell me, well, excuse me, brother, I got to talk to this brother here. You know, you're not this or you're not that. I dedicated myself after that I would never be excused again. So if you're a Royal Archmason, I got that knowledge. If you're a Knights Templar, I got that knowledge. If you're a Shriner, I got that knowledge. If you're a Sublime Prince, I got that knowledge. You an Eastern Star, on and on and on. But then through other friends, I started digging in even deeper and going into the bloodlines, you know, and finding out there's more Moorish stuff in doggone Masonic teachings. And then when we started talking about, like Brother Sharif said, smooth ashlar to rough ashlar, rough ashlar to smooth ashlar. Now we get into another science, alchemy, rearranging molecules, you know, rhetoric. People think that's just talking trash, but that's the actual science of manipulating people with your speech, like politicians do. But if you don't take the initiative to go into the different material that's presented to us, then you'd be just as lost as a neophyte that knows how to remember stuff. That's all.
Okay. So my question to you right now is this, right? To the panel is so Brother Jelani, you were just speaking about persuasive speaking, right? So you learned this in the lodge. If I knew that, first of all, where do you learn this, because in what specific lodge, because like I said before, the lodge that I went into, the reason why I went back out and I decided I didn't want to get into masonry is because that lodge just wasn't for me, and I just thought that, you know, I thought I figured I knew enough
I
at that
think
point.
I think we said this before, and Shreve said this before. He really said this, and he says, I'm embarrassed by the McDonald Masonic lodges, just like I'm embarrassed by the McDojos, just like I'm embarrassed by the many unhealthy people who don't know they're unhealthy, and they try to present in a healthy manner instead of just admitting to themselves they just don't know, because that's the beginning of health. That's the beginning of the beginning. That is the omega, right? And so you will never know what lives you walk into unless you're in tune with your feelings and saying this does not feel right. And you did that. So good for you. But what I'm sad about is that you you were not able to go someplace else to learn, but you did. You went into the more science. So it's not like you didn't stop your learning. So it's really okay. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because you could have walked in a different dojo too. You could have walked in a different martial arts studio and be like, what are they doing? And you could have been like, okay, I guess I paid my X dollars and I'll stay here. And you were like, nope, this isn't for me.
Mhm.
But you could have stayed there for many years. Many years. Just trust me, I'm old school, and I've been asked to do seminars and dojos, and I've walked in and I've looked at the senior instructor, and I'm like, I should shut you down right now. And I've looked at the senior instructor, and I will never ridicule someone in front of their peers or their disciples, but I brought three senior instructors to the back room and gave them a what for and say, like, it gave them a ribbing, really, and saying, like, this, I'm not gonna, no, you need to get your act together because this is unhealthy.
Mhm. Mhm. Got you. Got you. Okay, so my question is, what lodge should I go into if I'm interested, if I want to learn persuasive speaking, if I want to learn things that's going to help me like truly build myself up, and it's not like the McDonald's lodges, as you said. Oh, wait, hold on 1 second, Jelani.
Hey,
Here you go. Now you got it.
yeah, that's very, very hard to say, dear brother, because what I touched on was the several liberal arts. And as you know, our ancestors created those seven liberal arts. And so and taught those liberal arts to the world on various levels, meeting people where they are. Um, what I did was not only memorize the seven liberal arts, but I investigated each one and tried to take it to each level. So it's an individual thing. The information, excuse me, the information in speculative masonry is universal. You learn the same exact thing in every Blue Lodge, Scottish Rite and York Rite. I can't speak for the Mitzvah rights. When I'm almost there when I go into that, and then Brother Sharif, I'd love to get some more information on that if you could expound upon it later. But the information is universal. It's up to you to really start searching. You know, take it to that next level, because there's layers to it. There's layers to everything. There's degrees to everything. First, you memorize the words.
I actually
Then
think
you
I have an answer. I
certain words.
actually, Jelani, I think I have an answer. I think I really do have
Okay,
an
all right,
answer,
brother.
and because I I I, I don't want to be like, you know, the headstone to all this, but I think if people have a question like you do, I think if they tell us where they are, because people have the same question like churches, and I've done this with martial arts studios. If you tell me where you are, you tell me where you live, I can because a good lodge will doesn't mind being contacted. You talk to who we need to talk to, ask them certain questions. If they get offended, that's not the lodge.
That's
If
right.
that makes sense, right? So if I it's like contacting. If I can contact a lodge and I talk to, to the person sitting in the east, and they getting upset because I'm asking a whole bunch of questions, that's not the lodge. Just like a dojo, if I contact the head master at a dojo and I'm asking him a whole bunch of questions, that's not the dojo. If I contact a church and I'm asking the minister a whole bunch of questions and they're getting all uppity and all like this, that's the wrong church. So I think if people have the same question we do, we can narrow it down to a vicinity and go from there. Because people have those questions and they're unsure and they need someone to trust. So I think if they just contact the show, we can at least start them out and do the research for them. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing that.
Okay, so now I just real quick before we go to brother Sharif, I'm gonna ask the panel: is it okay for me to then now put in like a call in feature, because I'm getting emails, right? But it's hard for me to keep up with all the emails with all the questions and stuff like that. It's like, oh, and whoever reached out, I saw the email. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. The call in feature is coming. It's coming. So then you can call in and you can ask whatever questions you want to ask. I will have a call in segment. All right. Okay. Boom. There we go. Brother Sharif.
So this is what I have to say about that regarding the seven liberal arts. First and foremost, the seven liberal arts are part of compulsory education in the West. There ain't no secret to that.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a part of compulsory education. So now, this is from my perspective and my experiences. I can't speak for any other lodge, right? What is the significance? What is the Masonic significance to the seven liberal arts? See, and that's the question, right? Just the seven liberal arts standing alone by themselves is a part of compulsory education. Everybody gets that, or can. You don't need to go to a lodge to study the seven liberal arts.
That's correct. That's correct. That's right.
Right? But
Yes, sir.
But there's a specific methodology. See, it's not the possessing of the thing; it's the knowing of its use. So there's a specific methodology in Freemasonry as it relates to the seven liberal arts that makes it special within the craft, right? So, here's an example, but I'm going to give the example out of the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? As it relates to methodology. So we have, like, for instance, Freemasonry, the degrees and stages in Freemasonry offer the seeker opportunity. It offers opportunity.
Yeah.
That's it. Right? When you look at, for instance, the Matrix Reloaded, after Neo meets Seraph and they fight, and then Seraph takes him through the door, and you're in that hallway with all these green doors. Think of that as the degrees of Freemasonry. You have different opportunities to travel different places, right? So, right, but you have to do the traveling. In the more science, and here's the example I'm going to use to illustrate what I mean by methodology. In the Moorish Science Temple of America, we say we honor all true and divine prophets: Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. Well, where do you see Confucianism teachings or teachings of Confucius? See, you got to put the work in. You got to go look. See what I'm saying? But first and foremost, you got to be familiar with what Confucius taught to know what to look for. You got to really put work in. That said, I'll help everybody out. In the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you go to page 35, which is chapter 24, the obedience of children towards their father. When you look at the last instruction where it says, so shall their hoary heads go down to the grave in peace, and thine own children, in reverence of thy examples, shall repay thy piety with filial love. Oh, well, anybody that's familiar with Confucius and the work he did automatically see it. Wow, the Confucian social structure. Confucius provided for China their social structure, right? And in the East, the young take care of the old. And guess what it's called? Filial piety. There you go.
Islamism.
See?
All right. All right.
And that's why in China, when they say love to father, it's a different sound in the word love, because it resonates in a different area of the body than it does when you say love to a mate. The sound is different because it resonates differently, because the frequency is differently, because the alchemy is differently, because the transformation's differently.
Got you. Got it. All right. Now, anyone want to expand or add on to that?
I hope I was clear enough I hope I was clear enough in demonstrating what I meant by methodology. Everybody has 7 liberal arts, and there's nothing secret about that. But it's how it's approached. I'll just throw this, it's a rhetorical question, and I'll just leave it open-ended. What do the 7 liberal arts have to do with the craft of Freemasonry? There you go. Because like I said, you can go to Yale and study 7 liberal arts. You can go to any college and study 7 liberal arts, right? What makes it so special in Freemasonry? What is it in Freemasonry? What does that really mean? What does rhetoric really mean to the speculative Freemason? Does it mean the same thing as somebody studying grammar or studying linguistics or studying language studies in another university? Now, we know the short answer to that is no. It doesn't mean the same thing. So the question now is, well, what does it mean to the Freemason? And I would venture to say that there's a lot of Freemasons that just don't really know because they haven't done the work to take it that far.
And I would actually also say doing the work means you don't want to do the work. And you had asked me this once time before, Brother Ron, when we talk about like special soldiers and things like that. How does someone really get prepared in being a special soldier? You got to put in the work. There's nobody's body different than another body. There's no one's. But people don't know how to put in the work past being exhausted. They're like, "Oh, I've done this. I'm done." Right? It's so because I still get so confused about how people get lost with a map or how people get lost with Google Maps. We are not training ourselves to exhaust ourselves, to keep asking ourselves, who am I? And then where do I want to go? We keep wanting to be pulled by the nose ring, like we're X's, plowing a field. That is not what knowledge is. If you want to gain knowledge, you definitely have to plow your own way.
Yep, you do. That's right. That is correct.
And Grand Governor, Brother Sharif, to
Oh, I'm not a grand governor.
I thought you meant I thought you was the anyway, go ahead.
National Press Secretary.
No, but the several liberal arts in speculative Freemasonry is because the idea of speculative Freemasonry is to improve man, his well-being, his inner fiber. Knowledge of those seven liberal arts, not just memorizing the words, but digging into each art, is supposed to empower the speculative Mason with knowledge to build a higher levels of character and degrees of being, not just understanding what the word arithmetic means, but now starting to measure life numerically, dig into formulas that equate to reality, geometry, to start looking at life in angles. I know when I see a flagpole, that reminds me of a plum. I go right to masonry because it measures upright things and it reminds me to stand upright as a man. See, so and on and on and on. So the several liberal arts to a Mason are foundational principles to help them to start on their way to higher learning. Islam, I yield.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So I want you to expound a little bit on digging into the seven liberal arts. You can give me like a brief example of any one of the seven liberal arts and how to dig into it.
Well, first of all, find out the definition of them. Find out what that thing means, and then go from there. Well, rhetoric is the control to control masses with your speech. All right, how? What part of grammar must you use to trigger in the minds and hearts of people who you are addressing ideology that you wish them to develop? You have scholars that do that, well, politicians especially, and you have psychologists that do the same thing. This is why we have micro expressions and body language and stuff like that, to get keys and clues to how to manipulate someone, or I don't want to use the word manipulate, but to control the ideology of a mass of people simply by using words to do so. In other words, you use a word and then watch their body language, watch their micro expressions, which help you navigate which words best fit, the people who you are addressing.
I like that. I like
That's
that.
how you dig in. You know what I mean? You go beyond just the doggone word.
Right.
That word has deeper, richer meaning. All of them do. All of the seven liberal arts do.
That's a good one right there, Mikey Fever. Invoke. That's a good word. That's a better word than manipulate.
Yes,
for sure.
I agree.
For sure. Brother Sharif Bey.
Yes, sir.
Can you don't have to go too deep in detail, but out of the seven liberal arts, give me a example of how to dig deep into the seven liberal arts. You can give me one of the liberal arts and
listen. I want to stick on rhetoric. I like that one. Right. Another way to say another way to describe rhetoric. right, in the general sense, is persuasion, right? It's persuasion. So for me, right, for me, you know, Freemasonry, okay, Freemasonry is a beautiful system of morality, veiled in allegory and revealed in symbol, right? Revealed in symbol. Okay. So that means that the things that we see, that includes the words, are symbols of a real thing. They're not the real thing. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like I give you a quick example, right? If you got a pet dog or a pet cat, you know darn well, for the most part, the cat or the dog does not understand the words coming out of your mouth. So how are you able to speak to the cat and the dog and they understand you? The science of rhetoric from the Masonic perspective. It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. So you're not manipulating words per se, or it's not really so much the word, it's the vibration that carries the persuasion that you use the word as a vehicle to get across. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Back to brother Paul, Dr. Paul Dyer. Anything from the 7 liberal arts?
Being a science guy, it's going to be the basis of geometry. The geometric geometry, the measure of, the study of. The alignment of. So it goes back to, we can attach that to rhetoric. How does your words align with what you're saying? How do they measure with where you're going? That's geometry. It's not just numbers. It's things you're doing. It's steps you're taking. It's 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 a process. What is your process? What is your geometric process? I guys, I can't. I'll say this guys, I'll say this with a strong conviction. I hate the Bulls, but that triangle offense was geometric. So I would have to say geometry.
Okay.
Brother Ron.
Yes, sir.
In another school of thought that you are quite familiar with, rhetoric from the Masonic perspective is literally magnetic. In another school of thought.
Listen, I was thinking about all of that while y'all were building on that.
That's what it is.
I said, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So now you know where my mind is going. Somebody has some other kind of knowledge.
Yeah. No one has a monopoly on truth. Even Prophet Noble Drew Ali said about the Moorish Science Temple of America, he said this is part of the great program. Mm-hmm. The magnum opus is the magnum opus, and nobody has a monopoly on it.
Right.
You see, which if we're studying right and we have the right heart, then we can see the commonalities. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm not, but I'm not going to offend somebody, let's say in the 5% nation, and try to beat them over the head with a compass and a square. I'll just speak his language.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just speak his language.
Simple as that.
Straight like that. Yeah.
Simple. Meet them where they are.
Right. Right. Anything else, brothers?
You know, I really hope people understand that for someone to gain what they seek, they must first ask what they don't know. For someone to gain what they seek, they must first ask what they don't know. But if you're unable to humble yourself to ask a question, then you will remain where you are.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, we got some comments here. You know, sometimes you get comments. You go, "Oh, what the hell is that?" But I'm realizing this is the internet. This is the internet. So we got to relax. So, um, so we should do a show on the detriments of Freemasonry, especially for Asiatic men.
Let's do it.
I mean, I mean, can anyone answer that?
Do
What's the detriment?
it. Well, this is what I'll say, and I'm gonna Lorenzo Blundell, you should do a show on the detriments of Freemasonry, especially for Asiatic men. So here we go. First of all, Freemasonry is an institution, right?
That's it.
It's an institution. So it's just like what I told the audience that day years ago in 2016. It was a big audience at Sanetta's event where Polite debated the one Jewish guy. And during the intermission, he had me and Brother Reggie standing up, and Brother Reggie basically wanted to promo the debate we're about to have. And in the debate, or in the promo, Brother Reggie speaks first, and he's like, "Yeah, the Moors, they dress nice and they got fezzes on, they got suits and blah 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 blah. But religion did this, and religion did that, and religion did the third, and religion did the other." So I got up. Now I knew I was in front of a hostile crowd, and there was almost 1,000 people there. So I said this. I said, "Show of hands, how many of you all think guns kill people?" Nobody's hand went up. Then I said, "All right, show of hands, how many of you all think people kill people?" Everybody's hand went up. I said, "All right, we got intelligent people here." I said, "So you guys understand that, right?" They were like, "Yeah." I said, "All right, well, check this out. If you all think religion kills people, then you think guns kill people and spoons make people fat." And I dropped the mic and walked away.
There we go.
So Sharif really hit it on the head. If you're going to blame an organization for any detriment, then where do you stop? Not where do you start? Where do you stop?
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And where does, so that means everything is the blame someplace else other than thyself.
Right.
Like the reason why I can't run up the hills because the hill's too big. Like that's the question. The detriment of me running up the hills because the hill's too big.
Right.
It sounds absurd.
Right.
My question is for this person, and I think it's Lorenzo. I apologize. My question is for you. Can you explain why you believe that a organization can be a detriment other than yourself? Because then maybe we can understand where this person's coming from, and then we can understand maybe where the question alluded to. Because right now the question is so out of pocket.
Right.
I don't take offense to the question. I think I personally think that it's a sincere question, but it's just based on
I'm just concerned. I'm concerned for the person. I'm concerned for Lorenzo, because that means him asking this question, even after listening to this program, means that there's a lot of blaming going on instead of self-reflection.
Oh, wait, hold on a second, Jelani. Yep. Go ahead. You got it.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Brother Lorenzo Ill, inadvertently, he's gotten some information that makes him think that Freemasonry, especially for Asiatics, is detrimental. And that's kind of crazy because it was Asiatics, conscious morals, who brought this science to the world. There is no race on it. There's no nationality on it because it's one of the oldest sciences of the world, even in its operative state, to the speculative state. So it's like Asiatics created it. So how would it be a detriment to Asiatics? That's because the rhetoric is that the science belongs to the European, and the European controls the narrative of Freemasonry. And
All right,
that if you are Freemason, then you are in league with these evil Europeans who are taking over the world. See, that's from the Moorish side, on the ignorant level. That's what Japhetha's Mobile Lodge was all about, to bridge that gap and to give a general knowledge, at least on a mundane level, and then elevate. Islam, I yield.
Islam. So the brother said, dealing with the 7 laws of Tahuti, there would have to be polarity. So anything with the benefit would be in reverse.
Or by inverse would have a detriment.
Inverse.
I want to speak to that real brief.
Mm-hmm.
But real quick, before I speak to that, let me say this, right? I'm an initiated Freemason. I'm a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. 2 different organizations, 2 different types of organization. See, we're instructed as members of the Moorish Science Temple of America to protect that organization and protect that movement.
Islam.
I don't gotta protect Freemasonry. It's a fraternity. I will never play myself trying to defend Freemasonry. I just gotta put that out there. I ain't gotta do that. See what I'm saying? I will never do such a thing because there's no need. This is just from my perspective, right?
There's
now,
no
You're right.
What the brother said with the 7 laws to Tahuti, there would have to be polarity. The polarity is not determined by the institution, dear brother. The polarity is determined by living people, not the institution. That's like here we go. I got a spoon. Yeah, there's an inverse to it. Try to eat with it like this, though. See, the determinant factor in polarity is the holder of the spoon, not the spoon.
Islamism. That's right.
Islam. Anyone else want to say something, expound before we cut out? No? Yes, sir.
One thing.
I didn't hear
Don't
you.
listen to what people say. Test the waters for yourself. If you don't like what the waters are doing, you can walk. There's you don't get jumped into Freemasonry. You see what I mean? Just like
the military lodges may beg to differ.
Oh, really? I've never been in the military lodge. I can't speak on it. But
I
knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. When I got raised, it was a LOOOOON Cripple G weekend. It was long.
Well, we all
I swear that weekend was 144 hours.
I know that's right. But see, you know what, Brother Dyer, you touched on something. All right. Even the institution of Masonry has been so watered down.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Because when I came in, I know I counted at least 50 cars in the parking lot. And some of them were doubled and tripled up. And I think every last one of them showed me love. That was a long night.
Yeah. That my line was 12. We started out with 32 with my toe, and we end up raising 12, and it was long. It was long. It was long. It was
And you
long.
have to understand something. Back then, it's the same thing in martial arts. We used to think we was getting punished by getting put on our knuckles and doing knuckle
Right.
push-up.
Right.
We had no idea that we were strengthening our wrist for a good punch
That's right.
and putting pads on our knuckles to cushion them from administering a blow.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? But usually we got instruction while we were on those knuckles
Mm-hmm.
because the pain helped to assimilate the information.
That's right.
You were going through something. Nowadays, it's not that intense.
Okay. I don't know what he maybe Dr. Pordia, you understand that?
After I finished advanced instructional training, Sergeant told me, yeah, they're going to try you. That's 100. Yeah. So when he got raised in the military lodge, everyone who was in the military who was, which if you're wearing your symbol or light or whatever they were going to try you. They were definitely going to try you and pull that light off of you and to see if you were going to be steadfast in your education. Otherwise, they could definitely bring you back to in the apprentice. So it was a very strong, like to be raised in the military lodge. It was very strong. Like you definitely had to know your craft verbatim, and I still know mine's verbatim.
Islam. That's the same. It's the same thing with, back in the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
if you see my Facebook, you see I got a lot of light on the back.
Right.
It's an exercise. See, it goes right back to what Elder Sharif, and I don't know we had this conversation before, but Brother Sharif was saying, it's an exercise that you initiate.
Correct.
Because if I have all my light on there from Blue House all the way to doggone 32nd, I'm opening myself up for examination.
That's right.
So I must constantly study.
Man, this sounds so familiar.
Doesn't it?
This sounds yo.
I wish more science was that way.
If you're part of the Allah's 5% and you hear this podcast,
yeah. I heard. Yeah.
Oh yeah, one of the guards. Okay, yep. Dropping Jews, making knowledge born. Yes, sir. Yeah, I got one guard there. When we got Lorenzo Blunt L. He said I'm a part of Allah's 5%. I also study with the Clock of Destiny. That's peace. But man, this was fire. Anybody else? Anybody else?
They take your stuff too. They take your stuff. A brother stop you, and you got on belt. We used to wear belt buckles back in the day and medallions and rings and everything. And you step up there and some brother, yo, man, what's that? And you got the wrong answer for it. They start going shopping, brother. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times they'll take what they can and give it to your master. They'll ask you, where your lodge at?
Where your lodge at?
Where your lodge at? Yeah, and then they'll tell you, man, hey, bro, this brother can't handle this.
Yeah. They may not ask it that way. They may not ask it that way. They may not say, "Where's your lodge?"
Oh yeah, but it's cloudy, so I didn't want
to, They say, "How old is your mother?"
How you want to do that?
Yo, on that note, thank you guys for showing up this evening and building and making knowledge born, as the guards would say. Really appreciated this podcast right here. This is very thorough. Three Masons and a 5%.
Right.
4 lodges, bro. Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, 3 Masons and a 5% or more, if you want to put that together. So thank y'all for showing up this evening. Again, feel free to always plug your social medias, everything you want people to follow you or find you. Plug all of that. I don't mind. Super chat, share, subscribe, etc. Catch y'all on the next one. See y'all tomorrow.
Sir.
Peace.
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 Peace.